some discussion. So tell us a bit about the ICAO. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, everyone. So just a quick overview of the ICAO. So it's a UN specialized agency. Okay, well, you've got the slides in English. So it was established by the Chicago Convention, so the 80th anniversary this year. And now there are 193 member states. The role of the ICAO is, first of all, the conventions, protocols, standards, and recommended practices known as SARPs. And these are for states and monitoring authorities. Then there's the auditing states, and then we also help countries to implement the requirements of the ICAO. There are some 19 appendices to the convention. So auditing is to establish compliance and assistance with implementing the convention. So there's an expression, no country left behind. So that's part of our mission, is to help all countries roll out the convention. A little bit of background on the convention. So it's all focused on security and safety. So these are some of the milestones. And as you look at Montreal, 1971, here, these were questions of civil aviation safety. So we are based in Montreal, and there are other offices in Geneva. So we have a board and a secretary general, particularly for publishing guidance papers. Well, tell us a bit. There's a specific appendix, annex to the Convention on Cybersecurity. Well, yes, that's number 17. So there are two sections on security and safety. Okay, so first of all, number 9. This is for passengers in particular. So this concerns compliance with everything concerning the passenger, border controls, passport controls, etc. Then section or Annex 17 concerns infrastructure security, and this includes cybersecurity, critical infrastructure, and a few other topics to do with airports, so operating companies, etc. So in Annex 17, there's the cybersecurity section is just 2 chapters, 4.9.1 and 4.9.2. First of all, these are the standards which can be audited, and the second chapter requires the authorities and the companies to examine critical systems, and that data protection is ensured. On the recommendations side, we're talking about analysis and management of risk. This concerns in particular confidentiality and availability of the critical systems. So all of this must be auditable. Okay, so those are the annexes on which one can be audited. But there's another area of our work, which are the legal instruments. And the main documents here are the Beijing Convention and the Beijing Protocol documents of 2010. Like any convention, these are agreed upon by the states, so they have to be a signatory to the document. And it's a legal means to get the countries on board to comply with the requirements. Now, the protocol is a more technical focus and not just about, let's say, an attack during the flight, but here it's broader. It's before, during, and after a flight. Always within. So this involves everyone across the chain. I mean, airports, airlines. Well, the conventions are signed by member countries, but then through their own separate authorities, they will then ensure that the concerned parties are in compliance. Now, sometimes there can be questions about who are exactly these concerned parties. So tell us a bit about the governance. So it's the states, in fact, who interact with the ICAO. Well, it's true that on the board it is states. Yes, these are the who. I mean, if you compare it to the private sector, so it's like it's a board deciding on strategy and deployment of certain actions. Now, of course, the states don't decide all of this on their own. There is, input from aviation experts, the airline industry, and other sectors, and counterterrorism authorities, and so yes, so there's counterterrorism. So we try to work in a open manner. So coming back to the governance. Well, let me speak about strategy first, as concerns cybersecurity for aviation. There's a third tool. I mean, I know there's a lot to absorb here. So we have our annual general meeting. Well, actually, every 3 years in our case. We have a general meeting every 3 years. And at each of these meetings, resolutions are passed. And there was a recent one, resolution number 19, applying to cyber security. And so international cooperation is one of the aspects in this resolution. There's also mention of putting in place the ratifications and efficient implementation, cyber security, sharing of information, managing incidents, and contingency plans. And then there's also capacity building through training and developing a cybersecurity culture. So all of that was part of the most recent resolution. So there's also action plans that are developed. So it's a very operational document. The first one was published in 2020. And there's a second edition published in January 2022. So these are publicly available documents. And so it is possible for anyone interested to see these documents. So you say here that there are 32 priority actions that were developed. Well, for example, there is implementing training programs, raising awareness. So there can be regional events on the subject. For example, the idea is always to have as many member states as possible implementing these different aspects of the action plans. And so I talked about not leaving any country behind, but there's also the idea of trying to have a standardized, homogeneous rollout of the plans. Okay, now it's true that in Europe there are already directives concerning these aspects, such as NIS2. But, this isn't the case all over the world. So that's what makes the ICAO plans all the more interesting. Okay, governance. You asked about governance. So at the top you have the board, as I mentioned. So the council is our board. And then there are various committees. There's the Cybersecurity Committee. There's the Airline Safety Committee. Air transport. So if you look toward the middle, there's a recently created committee, I think it was just last October, which is the Ad Hoc Cybersecurity Coordination Committee. The aim of this committee is to ensure that there is conformity and an action plan in case there are any gaps. Then we have various panels. These are very technical committees with experts. So, for example, AirPass, the remote aircraft piloting systems. Okay, so these are very technical, and they will address also issues such as drones. Remotely controlled drones. Then in blue, you've got some other panels that are also we have some cybersecurity issues. So identifying threats, characterization of the risk, and the response policy. So here we have our member states on the committees, as well as cybersecurity specialists. We have, of course, airport managers, airlines, etc. So just quickly on the capacity building. At the ICAO, we work with an American university in Florida. This an aeronautic university have put in place a training program, and so this is about some concerning the technical management at a foundational level. And then there's another program working with the British Surveillance Authority. So that's the Cybersecurity Oversight Authority. Also organizes a 3-day course and a 4-day course. So we organize that in partnership with them. So so you've said that some countries might be a bit falling behind. So how do things go during the audit process? So the ICAO is not just auditing on cybersecurity, but across all 19 annexes and country by country. So those two chapters of the 17th annex, in fact, well, it dates back 50 years, in fact, of the first edition. And so when we can audit some of the, like the 4.9s, but then there's so what you see there, the figure on the right, is the percentage not of compliance, but of the number of organizations audited, rather. So we've got West, so the Middle East, South Africa, Eastern Africa. Here you can see sort of the state of maturity, let's say, in terms of cybersecurity. This is a powerful tool for states where, perhaps they've identified the critical infrastructure, but it also allows the civil aviation industry in those countries to go to the authorities and say, well, we have to respond to this audit and we need you to be doing more. So earlier when we were talking, in North America, those numbers look a bit low, aren't they? I'm a bit surprised. Well, I can't really say anything about that. There's a question of the number of states audited. If there's only there's only 4 countries in the North America, so if there's one that's not, 4 big countries and then some smaller, there's only one that hasn't been audited, well, it's going to worsen the figures there. Okay, so that's about cybersecurity. So, is the threat very real in general? Well, I can't lie to you. We know that the threat exists. You can see it in the press. Work has to be done here because the impact can vary. This can impact different aspects of flying, from deleting websites to exploiting breaches, changing flight information, and so the risk management, what needs to be done has been identified, but there has to be improvement on how it's handled. The threat exists, and the ICAO of course, raises awareness about what those risks are and what form they might take. So I didn't give you any precise examples, but yes, it is a topic. So just to wrap up, what are the next steps? Well, as I told you, we're working a great deal on raising awareness through seminars. We also need to collaborate more with other UN agencies, and there are some big events coming up for us this year. So we've got the Security Week, probably at the end of the year, to be held in Oman. So it's an entire week focused on security. And then the INCYBER Forum in Montreal. So we'll also have the aerospace industry present. All right, then.